pretty much rotted through. Over in this direction, let me show you, this one also completely washed away. This is not how it's supposed to look. Looks like it's missing one of the legs here, as those heavy waves, that rain just battered it. You see over here, beach erosion pretty much made a cliff face on that dune there. Not what that's supposed to look like. That's not healthy. 200 kids with autism, teaching them how to surf. That starts here in about 20 minutes or so out on Folly Beach, right in front of the Tides Hotel. I'm in my my bite suit here, so I'm going to be protected.
The officer will pat down the suspect. While he's patting down the suspect will injure the officer, which causes the dog to engage.
But I want to turn off the light on our camera. This is how dark it's been for these workers for the last week, and they've been using only this, the light of a cell phone, to inspect their buses. That is, until now, it's these lights that are illuminating their entire morning. Getting a little bit of, I wouldn't call it accumulation necessarily. We're getting a little bit of the white stuff down here. I also want to show you this kind of bush, this grass here. It looks like you can really just kind of grab onto it and break off that ice. See how frozen all that is? That's the effect that this freezing rain and now what's turning into sleet is having on pretty much everything in this area. They've even got this caution tape up. See how frozen that is? As I go all the way down. Ice just breaking off of that. When we first got here, one of the things that really stuck out, you could see the flames, but you could hear the water from those hoses just splashing onto this building with such force. Now, under the previous contract, Waste Pro only had to provide customers one of these, an 18-gallon recycling bin. Now, these could only handle paper and cardboard, but under their new contract, it's these. A 95-gallon recycling bin, they're required to give that to all customers in the town of Somerville, but the only problem, hundreds of customers say they never got them. More than 110,000 students in the DD2, Berkeley County, and Charleston County school districts. Now, not every district has the same number of officers in schools. I consider the 3 largest low-country school districts. DD2 has 1 SRO for every 1,100 students. Berkeley County has 1 SRO for every 1,600 students. Charleston County has 2 officers for every 1,600 students. That's twice as many for that same number. A state highway patrol have set up on this access road, but during an actual lane reversal, this would become an on-ramp to I-26 eastbound in that direction, turning it into additional lanes for 26 west towards Columbia. Now, sitting in the Charleston Harbor, the Carnival Ecstasy is 855 feet long. To give you some perspective, now if we were to hop in the car and drive to the tallest building in downtown Charleston, to St. Matthew's Lutheran Church, the top of its steeple is 255 feet tall. If we flipped it on its side, that's still less than 1/3 the length of the Ecstasy. There's 4 of these working shafts around downtown Charleston. This one here at President and Fishburne Street will eventually go down 130 feet below ground. Republican Greg Hembry suffered a brain aneurysm. Solicitor Jimmy Richardson confirmed his friend was placed in the ICU last night. He says Senator Hembry is stable. And big save on the field as 2 deputies rushed in to rescue a deer. Look at this. The deer somehow got itself tangled in a soccer net. The key to Julia Rhodes' bridge run success starts with a question.
Where to train.
What drives her?
There's some places that are really, really great, and then some places that aren't.
She answers by pulling herself up to train at first light.
I was doing half marathons when we were living in Massachusetts. Running was my one constant.
It's now just a constant reminder of what she lost.
And I was training for my second half marathon when I got into my accident.
Hi, darling. Hey.
That accident left Julia paralyzed from the waist down and forced her to use a wheelchair. But her competitive spirit spoke to her in a whole new way.
This is a standard racing chair. I can just hit it and it'll start to turn. I do hard gloves.
Hands at the ready.
She push, follow through.
She's rolled that passion for running into racing wheelchairs for the last 6 years. She says the bridge run is her toughest challenge yet.
The bridge is definitely a beast to climb. During the day, you can see everything. And when you're at the top, you feel, I kind of feel like I'm at the top of the world.
She's pushed the entire length of the bridge and back twice a week to prepare.
It takes courage to be able to face something that you really miss and to be able to grieve that.
As for her grief,
There's no disability that takes away your ability to enjoy your life.
Well, she leaves it in that spot where the rubber meets the road.
That's why I really love Charleston, because there is that support for me to be able to do what I love here, which is to race.
Thank you.
It's really excited that there is a race that I can be a part of.
Love lasts forever and tattoos last longer.
In the back of a buzzing tattoo shop,
It's very zen-like.
somewhere from the inkwell
It is very cathartic.
to the canvas,
Tattoo shop's a cool place to be.
Jason Eisenberg arrives at a revelation.
You spend enough time doing this, tattoo shop becomes where every life-changing event for you happens.
His was the loss of a dear friend. Jathan J. Bellamy's life was cut short when a driver hit his bicycle on Azalea Drive. Now 3 years later, the case has run cold.
I'm still very angry about it. Jay was here all the time.
Each session painting a personal portrait.
I did so many tattoos for Jay. Very much reflected the person who he was.
A white bicycle on this street corner serves as his memorial.
This is the closest I can be to my friend without thinking about him. Can we get everyone to be on either this lane or off the road altogether, please?
Jason led the Come Clean for Jay campaign. It raised $20,000 as a reward for information, leading to an arrest, one that still hasn't happened.
With all of my friends in law enforcement, they would tell me the same thing. I will keep you posted. If I hear anything, you'll be the first to know. I never heard anything. The one missing piece of the puzzle is buried in someone's conscience, or lack thereof.
I don't give up on them.
North Charleston police officer Philip Kirkland worked the case 3 years ago.
We didn't have much to go on at the scene at all. We had no witnesses, nobody was there.
222 dispatch, my top numbers.
And his caseload is growing, almost 1,400 last year, some still unsolved.
I want to bring closure to for the family, and I want to put the person responsible behind bars. Unfortunately, yeah, we just have to move on. I can't get wrapped around the axles with it, but I don't like saying that, but that's reality.
The truth hurts, but the final picture still being painted with inspired ink that'll never fade.
I don't need to get a tattoo to remember my friend because I do it every single day.
Working for you, Brodie Hart,
He is never going to be forgotten as long as any of us are still alive.
ABC News 4.
Whiskey Alpha 4, Uniform Sierra
On
November.
the museum ship USS Yorktown calling CQ, CQ.
Even over the airwaves, we're all under the same sun.
Less power than a light bulb, and I can get around the world.
While the rest of the world looks to the sky during Monday's total eclipse,
You should have a pretty good amount of people on the air.
Eugene Ma and Tom Glab
I've always had an interest in the ham radio.
will be dialed in aboard the headquarters of the Charleston Amateur Radio Society on the USS Yorktown.
I'll have my radio set up, and I'll be participating in a solar eclipse QSO party.
Nationwide,
About 300 people have signed up.
ham radio enthusiasts will send out their call signals.
Kilo 5, Charlie Papa Delta.
All in the hopes that darkness in daylight
There's a whole science to it.
leads to a stronger signal.
Scientists believe that the sun's shadow is going to de-ionize the atmosphere.
I may end up making contacts with people that are farther away than I normally would for the middle of the day.
Less sun means stronger radio waves, but it also means more options.
California, I see a couple Canadians, a Cuban. You could be talking to anybody.
Anybody.
Oh yeah.
Anybody else who's got the time
2 minutes of change.
to test out their antenna.
You got a pretty good signal there.
They're all under the same sun, but during the eclipse,
Don't you see the sun get blotted out there in the middle of the day?
they'll all be under the same signal and under the darkness of the same shadow.
It's just kind of the nature of science. You know, see something, explore it, and learn from it.
And thanks for the contact. 7-3.